Welcome to the Purpose for Mom Show, episode 419. Today, we're talking about back to school. I know. And it's actually interesting because I'm recording this in June. If you've been here for a bit, you know that I love to batch. So I've been batching my episodes because, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this today, my kids didn't have camp most of the summer. They were home, and I knew that if I wanted to be able to prioritize time with them, I would have to get them batched. So I'm talking about back to school routines now. It's going to air in August. So Cara in August is going to be so thankful to listen to this episode. I love when that happens, actually, when I'll listen to an old episode I've done. We've got over 400 episodes, which is like actually mind-boggling to think about. But I go back and I listen to Cara sometimes from the past, and I'm like, you knew what you were talking about. Thanks, Cara. So listen, today we're talking about back to school. And if it's early August, depending on where you live, your kids are going back to school now. If you're over on the East Coast like we are, you probably have about another month, but don't tune me out because we got to talk about it now. It's interesting. I grew up in Jersey, and we always started school after Labor Day. We never started that early. My kids in PA, we start in August. We end early June. And so it feels weird to me. It's taken me a couple of years to be like, fine, I guess we'll talk about back to school in August, but it's real. And I want you to start wrapping your brain a little bit around it and around kind of what you want back to school season to look like for you when it comes to home, when it comes to your routines, and when it comes to work. Because here's the thing, you need back to school routines for yourself. Routines matter so much. When I don't have routines for myself, I find myself kind of floating through. I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? When am I supposed to be doing it? And I waste a lot of time. Case in point, this morning, my kids are at camp. This is the week in the summer. The last week, my kids are at a full day camp at the same time. So I knew I had to work. And I sat down and I thought, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. But I had a work routine. So I was able to plug into that work routine and not use my brain. The goal of routines is to have to make less decisions. When you can think about your routines that way, that I am trying to just make less decisions, it's like self-care. Having routines does not have to box you in. I know a lot of people think, oh, I can't have these back to school routines. I can't even think about it. I just want to be a little more flowy. I'll tell you, I'm pretty type A. I like my routines. Lately, though, and we joke, me and my friends, we call her Nature Cara. She came back from camping, and I'm very much more go with the flow for me. Like, let's be real, for me. But I still like my rhythms. It matters so much because it allows me to feel as predictable as I can. I can't control everything, right? But it allows me to also kind of have a flow to my day and feel less stressed because I know what's going to happen. It also is helpful for your kids. And listen, I'm going to do episodes on routines for your kids. I talk about that a lot. Today, I want to talk about you. Lean in. You and me, we are going to talk about the routines for you. How often is it that stuff is just kid focused, right? It's not always mom focused. And I want to focus on you, which is another reason I will sidebar and invite you to the Purpose for Mom conference. Hopefully, if this is recording, since we're not going to cut it out, if we have tickets available, go to purposeformom.com/conference so we can focus on you, not your parenting, not your business, just you. But I want to talk to you today about your routines and why you need them, because transitioning from from the summer to school can be very challenging. It can be very hard. And when you're trying to run your online business or your work from home job or you work out of the home job at the same time, it feels like you went from this place where schedules were a little more fluid to like, oh my gosh, like what is it, the Kevin McAllister, like, if you're watching on YouTube, like, like that scream of all the demands are here. And listen, I'm feeling it now. We've had a very light and loose summer, but once August starts, my son is starting football. Football practice is 4 nights a week. Now, my son's about to be 7, which is, I don't know what to think about it. He's about to be 7 and he's starting tackle football for the first time. 4 nights a week in August. So there goes that. So it's already starting, right? The sports are already starting back up, the flow, the flexibility. I'm losing it, but I still need my routines for me to keep my sanity. I want to start with your bookends, which is your morning and your evening, because those are the two routines that you can control. You can control what you do first thing in the morning, and you can control the last thing you do before you go to bed. The rest of the day is kind of a crapshoot, and we're going to talk about what I think makes a really strong back to school routine for you as a mom, okay? I think the evening routine is probably the most important routine that you actually have. A lot of people like to start in the morning. I think it needs to be the evening. An evening routine should do 3 things. It should close out your day, it should set up tomorrow, and it should be something for you. And I try to do that every night. When you're getting into back to school season, that's a tongue twister. When you're getting into back to school season, you need to get your flows going. So what are some things you want to do to close out your family day? Because we'll talk about your work day in a second, so that you can start the day strong in the morning. It's really going to matter. All right, close out our day. What are we doing? Number one is I always make lunches. I say always, that was cute. 80% of the time I make lunches for the next day. My kids don't love the hot lunch. It is what it is if they like it. We started last year with them making their lunches. I'm going to try that again this school year. My kids do have to pack their own snack, and they have to put their lunch, like the bento box, inside the bag and put it like away. But typically I'm doing the chopping and stuff, but I want them to do it more. But whatever, make the lunches. Make sure lunches are made before you get up in the morning. Anything I can do to make my mornings smoother and have less decisions to make while I'm fighting everybody to get their hair done and their shoes on is beautiful for me. So I highly recommend you make any sort of meals. This includes meals for you. Now, I work from home. I can just go and get my lunch, but that takes a little bit extra time. If I can save the 5 minutes it takes to chop up my stuff for my salad or make my sandwich, I'm going to do it. And I want you to do the same. Don't just make the kids' lunches, make yours as well if you're working from home, or at least create a planner on what you're going to eat. That way you don't have to think about it. Speaking of planning, look at your schedule for tomorrow. What is my work schedule? What is my home schedule? What activities do we have? I then set up anything I need for that day. So I mentioned football. This will be our first year, pads, the whole nine, right? So during the school year, football, it goes down to 3 nights a week. What a treat. But listen, sidebar here. Like, I know I'm doing it to myself and I signed my kid up for it, but it doesn't mean I can't, commiserate that it's a time-consuming thing. My daughter has cheer, my son has football. So I want to pull everything aside, because this is when, if something isn't washed, you want to wash it, because I don't want to spend my work day when my kids are at school doing anything but work at all. Right. And so if I need to wash it, I'm going to wash it. I have my kids pick out their clothes the night before. All the things that set up your morning. Okay. We look at the schedule and we make sure. This is so helpful for me and my husband because of our schedules, 3 kids, all that. So I can say, hey, you listen, this is what's going on. Here's where we need driving, who's taking who where. I can text a friend if we need help. Do that the night before so that you're not scrambling in the morning. Because again, we're talking bookends first, and then we're going to talk about your workday. You want your workday to be your workday. And if you worked outside of the home, you wouldn't be doing your laundry during the day, correct? So I want you to treat it similarly as much as you can. We are flexible. That's why we work from home. Like, I love the fact that if I have to do laundry during the day, which I do, I can, but don't make it the norm. What else can you do to kind of close out the night? This is where I load my dishwasher. This one is a 90% of the time because I would rather have my dishwasher loaded at the end of the night. So then in the morning I unload and then I can just go throughout my day. It doesn't take as long. We do a 15-minute pickup at night. This allows me to feel like the cluttered mess is gone. Everyone helps in that. And then also I just kind of track. I go through my personal goals. I go through my checklist. This is part of when I'm planning the next day. And then I do something for me, whether it's read a book, do a little bit of a craft, scroll my phone. I just do something for myself to feel rejuvenated. You need that, okay? Now you can control the end of the day. Even if you're exhausted, you can control it. You can also control the other bookend. That's the morning. So what kind of routines do you need as a mom? This is where I'm going to encourage you to try to keep a consistent wake up time. I woke up about the same. I wake up typically around 6 o'clock during the school year. Some days I like to get up a little bit earlier just so I can have more time for workout or whatever. But 6 o'clock tends to be enough sleep for my body and enough time to get what I need done. So during the summer, I tried to keep my wake up time still between 6 and 6:30. Now, obviously on the days my kids had camp, I had to keep the schedule to get there. But on the days they don't have camp, I also do like to get up at that time so I can try to keep it the same. Now, if you didn't do that this summer, that's okay. But I want you to think about this school year of like, what time do I want to get up so I can have my morning where I can incorporate what I need? This is the self-care time for me. This is where I work out. This is where I might do some reading. This is where I do my Duolingo. I'm like learning a language. I do my photo culling. I work on personal goals then so that I can start my day doing something for me. I need that because as moms, the second my foot hits the floor, right? We know this. Your feet hit the floor, somebody needs you. And it's exhausting. It's really tiresome. So again, notice how at the end of the day, I'm like, you need something for you. And at the beginning of the day, you need something for you. And then I give myself buffer because we're getting the kids ready. We're doing the hair. We're arguing about whatever shoes, whatever the morning is leading us to, right? And this allows me to start my foot up right before everybody gets to school. I walk my kids to school. So we have a little more time. If your kids are on the bus, you might be a little bit, more tight. Think about that. Okay, so those are the personal ones for you, the morning and the evening. Do you want to talk about our work day? Let's do it. As a work at home mom, it's really hard if you don't have any routines. It is very easy to just go about your day doing stuff around the house and not getting work done because the laundry needs you, the phone calls need you, etc. Now, I do things for my home sometimes during the day, right? Like just now before I recorded this, I put dinner in the crock pot and I put my laundry in the dryer. All right. It's not saying I'm not doing anything. I'm completely saying, oh no, I'm going to pretend I'm not here. But I don't want to spend my time during my workday, those precious hours I have that are uninterrupted, doing things besides work. And so what really, really allows me to have a nice work schedule is this. I time block. And I have talked about time blocking forever. You can listen to a ton of episodes because it works. The theory of time blocking is to say, I have a couple hours of time. I'm going to chunk it around natural activities, lunch, whatever, pick up, drop off. And then I'm going to theme. Now, if you've not listened to episodes about me theming, maybe if we can try to remember to get some of those in the show notes over at appropriatemom.com/podcast 419 about time blocking, because I want to tell you about the themes, friend. This is the best thing to get back on track for work if you've been more fluid in the summer like I have, right? I mentioned my kids were not going to camps really. So I pretty much had them home. So my schedule in the summer isn't what the school year is going to look like. Though, if you have been following me on Instagram, I shared the other day that we're thinking about not full-time, part-time-ish RVing, depending on our work schedule next school year when my oldest goes to college. And that's going to mean homeschooling for me for the year. So that's a whole new beast. And we'll worry about that schedule when we get there. But currently my kids are at traditional school. So I want you to think about the schedule that you have, and I want you to set time blocks around what you need. So I'm going to tell you mine. Always customize and do your thing, right? I go through and I ask myself for the month of August, September, whatever month you're looking at, what are the goals that I have for my business and the tasks I need to work on? Step one. And then I want you to batch them together. Okay, look, I have a chunk of podcast tasks. I have a chunk of social media tasks. I have a chunk of launch tasks. I have a chunk of administrative tasks. I have a chunk of content, right? Kind of put them all together. And then what you're going to do is ask yourself, how many time blocks a week do I need on each of these? Now, during the school year, I typically do one time block per thing. I have about I would say like eight chunks in my business. So I get in about one time block each, and then I leave 2 for buffer. All right. But you might have more or less. There are some weeks where Summit Conference is coming up, right? Those get more of my attention. And then there are some times where the summit, for example, doesn't get any time blocks. And then in the summer, it gets like one every month or something like that. So you can customize it. But I want you to go ahead on Sundays, Fridays, whenever you're planning your next week. And I want you to chunk out your themes. What do I need to get done for next week? And what themes do I have so I can block them out? Do you have a podcast day, etc.? Maybe you only have nap time to work. Okay. So during nap time, pre-plan. I will talk pre-planning till I'm blue in the face. What things do you need to pre-plan to get done? I then will go through and I will pre-assign my micro 3. These are the 3 tasks I want to do per time block when it comes to work. This is so helpful for your back to school work because you're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to say, oh, there's so much work I didn't do over the summer. I need to catch up. I'm trying to get back on my schedule. Yes. If you pre-plan it, then you don't have to think. So today I showed up, I sat down, and I wrote down for myself 3 tasks I had to get done. I had 4 actually. 4 very small tasks. I had to edit something. I had to submit something for coaching with my coach. I had to record this podcast episode, and I had to do some reach outs and informational stuff for the conference. Okay, that's like what I had to do. So I didn't think about that. I sat down, I got started, and then I was like, what am I supposed to do next? Oh, look, Cara from Sunday had made this plan. I know exactly what I need to do. What this also is going to allow me to do is have some flexibility and some good routines of what do I do? These are the routines I want you to ask yourself. And I think we don't think of them as routines, right? But what do you do when you don't finish everything in your time block? What do you do if you have extra time? So I'm going to do both. I have extra time today. I was supposed to be on another podcast. Unfortunately, I had to get canceled for personal reasons. So I just got an hour back. it is very easy if I don't have a routine around what do I do when that happens to be like, let me go watch TV, let me go do something for my home, whatever. And I can, but that's not the routine I've made because I know that this is the time that I have to work. So my routine is I'm going to go back to yesterday and I'm going to look, were there any work tasks that didn't get done yesterday that needed to get done? I have two. I have two things I didn't do yesterday that I needed to complete. So that's what I'm going to do when I'm done recording this podcast in that hour. I also will then say there's nothing. Say I miraculously finished all of my things, right? I will then say, great, what's next on my list for today? So I can try to get ahead a little bit and I'll work on what's in my next time block. If it's like this is the morning when I'm recording this, right? So I have an afternoon time block. If it's the afternoon, I'll say, hey, what do I have in my next time block there moving forward? And then say I did it, right? Say I caught up on yesterday's tasks. I finished everything for today early and I have the time. I then will go to my overflow list, which is stuff that I want to get done that isn't super urgent, but it needs some attention and I keep putting it off because it's not urgent, right? This might be a lot more administrative stuff for me a lot of times, or even it's decision making or thinking or dreaming. I'll go to my overflow list. Do you have a routine around keeping an overflow list? I want you to think about these systems and routines as ways to run your day. If I didn't know what I was supposed to do when I had this extra time, what am I going to do? I'm probably going to waste my time. You need to systematize everything you do. All right. You need to create these systems so that when back to school season is here, you're not feeling overwhelmed with everything you didn't do this summer. The last kind of piece of routine tips I'm going to give you getting into back to school is I hope you've created some sort of transition plan. And if you haven't, now's the time to do it. The first day my kids are back at school, I'm not scheduling anything. I'm using that as my buffer day. That's my rest day. That's my relaxation. That's my no one is in the house and it is quiet and I'm going to do whatever I want day. I might go meet up with a friend for coffee. I might clean my house. I might read my book. I might work, but I gave myself a transition day. That is really important. Now, the day after that, I've scheduled a webinar because I am ready to get this next cohort of the Purpose Driven Mom Club going. So we're going to link that up in the show notes. Oh, I want to say that link is ready at this time. I don't even know what the URL is. So we're just going to put it in the show notes. Or you can send me a DM on Instagram at a Purpose Driven Mom. Actually, let me make it up right now. You can go to, I think it's going to be my 7 hours webinar. So you can go to purposedrivenmom.com/7 hours and get a free seat at this webinar that I'm hosting. I think it's August 27th. See, this is the problem with doing things in the future. I'm like, wait, is that the right day? So I'm going to remember that purposedrivenmom.com/7 hours. I'm going to be doing a free workshop and we'll be opening up doors to the Purpose Driven Mom Club for our fall cohort. But see how I didn't do that on the first day back. I'm doing it on the second, even maybe the third. I might even push it back a day, right? Because I need transition and you need a transition routine as well. You need to have this place where you're saying to yourself, I can breathe for a minute and now I'm back and I can get on track. Okay. We talked about your bookended routines that you have for you. We talked about your time for work. And I just want to give you one other recommendation that really helps me when it's back to school season because I'm trying to do a ton of stuff is making sure I have a transition routine for picking my kids up. I need this for me because I'm going from, all right, my work is done. I've got to go to the next thing. I've got to go to the next thing. I'm overwhelmed. My brain, is already still thinking. I have a work closeout. And so at the end of each workday, I go through my list. I see what's done. I see what's not done. I move things to where they need to go. And I kind of close up my day. Create a routine around closing up your workday, whether it happens at the end of nap time at 9 p.m., whenever it is for the next day. And then I also, even if say you work at night when the kids go to bed, right? Because your kids are little or whatever it is. If you have any sort of transition where you're picking up from preschool or primary school or whatever it is, give yourself a couple minutes. Sometimes I'll do a meditation. I'll do a prayer. I will walk 2 laps around my pool in the backyard. Like I just give myself outside time so that I'm not going right from work to home. And I gave this recommendation to my husband actually because he was a principal for a while and we were struggling a little bit with he was just coming home. He was on the phone the entire ride home, right? Talking to parents or whatever he had to handle for the day as a principal of high school, coming in, eating dinner, and then he was handling stuff. There was no off. And I understand this because when I worked at a charter school, we were on call. They gave us cell phones, and we had to be on call until 9 p.m., which meant kids could call us on that private number for homework help. Parents could call and ask questions. And it was exhausting. I get the theory behind it, but it was exhausting because there was no separation for me. And so we were struggling with this a little bit. And I said, you need some separation. Like, this isn't good. It's coming home. It's impacting the family. We're not having time. What can we do? And I just said to him, this might be good to like sit in the car for 5 minutes before you come in the house, put on a song or just sit in silence before you come in, right? And that really helped him kind of mentally say, hey, workday is done. I'm transitioning to dad now. And I think that's very important. I do this before I pick up my kids. I pick them up around 3:30. I try to stop my workday at 3 so that I can have half an hour to go through my closing checklist, what got done, what needs to get done tomorrow, etc. And then just chill. Just maybe I'll make another cup of coffee. Maybe I'll sit outside. Just give myself some time for my nervous system to kind of calm down before I'm then mom and I'm on demand over and over and over, right? I want you to create these routines for yourself when the school year starts so that you can have a sustainable business, you can take care of yourself, you can have a sustainable life, and you can have time and space for your goals and your dreams. Because what happens is we get to the end of the night, when we don't have these routines, we're so exhausted, we don't want to work on anything. This is a proactive way to get ahead of it. Make routines for yourself. Show notes for this episode are going to be at apurposedrivenmom.com/podcast 419. And again, go sign up for the workshop that I'm doing at the end of August. I would love to see you there. And if you're interested in the Purpose Driven Mom Club, you want more tips, you're like, I know I need this going into the school year, go to apurposedrivenmom.com/club. We have a waitlist and an application set right there for you that you can fill out to get on the list for early admission into the club so we can help you before we even open up the doors. Thank you again for listening and have a great one.